Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I am your dungeon master. I actually get to call myself that this time. I'm always like a game master or a space master or whatever. Oh, but not today, my friends. Not today. Today I don the black cloak of Dungeon Master. And I am super excited. I hope you are excited too. This is episode 0, I guess, of what will soon be a very cool new show here on Roll20. We're going to be doing, if you have not caught up with us, Roll20 is going to be presenting Old School Adventures, which is Moldvay Edition, Basic Dungeons and Dragons, throwing it way back to 1981. We're going to crush some skulls. We're going to stab some PCs. It's going to be glorious. I'm super excited. So what are we doing today? Well, I am going to be revealing first which adventure we're going to be doing, because if you caught the Moldvay video that I did before, I talked a little bit about, why I wanted to try some pre-built adventures. A lot of people use those as their sort of first foray into dungeon mastering, and they can be a special kind of challenge. Sometimes they're really helpful. If they're well written, they provide you a lot of material. Sometimes they're not so helpful. Sometimes they're more railroady, we'll say. And so what we're here to do is set up the tracks for what will hopefully be a roller coaster and not a railroad. And I want to show you what an old school D&D adventure looks like, kind of what we've got to work with, and what I do as a GM using Roll20 as a dungeon master. Putting together the adventure, setting up the maps, what kind of tools you can use in Roll20 to do that. So let's first take you over to my map. Oh, check it out. So this is my Roll20 interface. If it is not already very familiar to you, it will be. This is where I've set up all of the mapping tools that are going to be available to the players. I've added in my GM maps, and I'll walk through all of that to show you kind of what I've done. What I also wanted to talk a little bit about was this bad boy. This is literally, like, no question, the closest straw poll I have ever seen in the history of straw polls. Like, usually there's a clear winner for these things, but look at this. Look at how close. It's beautiful. We've been running this straw poll for a little while, a few weeks now, and these are the 4 adventures that I thought, okay, these are the ones I would like to run for various reasons, right? Like, Keep on the Borderlands is the classic. It came in the box set. If you got that magenta box set, you got a copy of Keep of the Borderlands. I wanted to add in Caverns of Thracia as an option, because Janelle Jaquays is one of my favorite adventure designers. It's a very excited familiar. Hang on. The bird of darkness. He seeks blood. All right. So, so Caverns of Thracia is a very interesting dungeon. You can navigate it a bunch of different ways. And then Lost City. Lost City is cool. Lost City is very contained and quite expansive. And I quite like that one as well. And then Palace of the Silver Princess I added because it's weird as hell. And, if you voted for one of these, like if you're one of the 389 beautiful people that voted for Caverns of Thracia, do not fear. There'll be a chance for us to join that action later. So, Keep on the Borderlands is our winner with 427 votes, 31%, so close. So I'm really excited. Now I've done a little bit of preparation for this already. I would have had to redo it if suddenly Thracia had leapt to the fore. But I figured in the 15 minutes while we were getting ready, we wouldn't get that many votes to jump ahead. So just a quick review of the cast in case you are curious. I'm going to be joined for our show by my good friend Hillary as a Sparrow, who is a RPG games reviewer and writer. John Harper, who you all know, of course, as the brains behind Frankie from Roll20 Presents Apocalypse World. Andrew, ye old disturber of shit, ye old troublemaker, Andrew. He's going to be here to cause trouble and wreck up the joint. And we're going to be joined by another brand new first-timer, Dave, who is one of my community moderators and a community moderator here at Roll20. So I am super excited to have these folks come and play with us. So let's take a look at our setup. Let's jump back to our setup, shall we? So what I did beforehand is we've been running a contest over at the Roll20 forums for a fan created character sheet. So I want to announce the winner of that. We had a few really cool character sheets, and while they were all quite good, I picked this one because I think that it was the best balance between the features that we got from the sheet and the sort of old school look and feel. So let's take a look at the character sheet. So I'm going to add a new character here, and we'll take a look at the sheet that we now have. Look at that beautiful green paper. So the sheet, there's not a lot of mechanical stuff in basic Dungeons and Dragons, but I wanted to give the players a place to record all of the information that they're going to need, and an easy character sheet that they can fill out quickly, because when they die, and not if they die, but when they die, man, it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be easy for them to make new characters. Now I've created some macros to help with that too, but for right now, here's the character sheet. So we'll be we'll be contacting the character sheet author directly, and and we'll be letting them know how to claim their prize. But for right now, check it out. So basic stats, a character in basic D&D has all the stuff you expect the Dungeons & Dragons character to have. Hit points, an armor class. Get ready for descending armor class, everybody. Somebody described this to me earlier in the week, because we were talking about basic D&D, because it's been on my brain, as you can imagine. The armor class thing, it starts at 9 because that's how it's a number that rates how easy you are to hit. The lower the number, the better the armor you're wearing is. So when you're wearing plate armor and you have a shield, you're gonna have 0 armor class. You're gonna have 1 armor class. That's really good. So when we start the game, this is a preamble for all of you who are used to more modern versions of D&D. When we start the game and I say, oh, he's got an armor class of 2, I'm describing a person who is a badass. I am not, or at least well armored, not somebody who is equipped poorly. So here are your options, right? We've got alignments. Another thing, there's only 3. There's no lawful evil. There's no chaotic good. You are lawful, you are neutral, or you are chaotic. And you know what's great about that is that good and evil do not enter into the morality of basic Dungeons and Dragons. It's not about whether you are doing a goodly thing. It's not whether you are committing an evil act. You are all at least semi-murderous vagabonds. So in this case, we're looking at, do you support law and order, or do you support chaos? And this is going to be a big deal when we get into the adventure, and you're going to find out why the keep on the borderland is settled next to something called the Caves of Chaos. So armor class, hit points, all standard stuff. Hit dice, you'll notice that there's only 3 types of hit dice in this game. If you are a wizard, you have a D4. If you are just about everyone else, you have a D6. And if you are a fighter, you have a D8. So we've got a macro for rolling that, automatically adds Constitution. We've got saving throws. These are going to be very important because, my God, when I say save versus death, I mean save versus death, my friends. Like, we talked about this a little bit in the previous adventure. You can be you can be well equipped, you can be ready for adventure, you can have 1,000 hit points, but when I say, oh, the snake bites you on the hand, make a save versus poison, or die, you can be assured that I am serious about that shit. So each ability grants you bonuses to certain things, and it's interesting because there aren't any dump stats in basic D&D. You have strength, obviously is important. It gives you a hit bonus in melee. It gives you a damage bonus in melee. It gives you a chance to open doors, a bonus chance to open doors. And this doesn't mean, we were joking about this last time we played, this doesn't mean all doors forever. Like, if you have a -1 to open doors, it doesn't mean that you can't open a door. It's like stuck doors or locked doors. Intelligence gives you additional languages. Languages are hugely important because if you can't speak to someone, you can't use your charisma to change the way they react to you. So speaking bugbear, actually kind of important, because whenever the players encounter a monster, I'm going to roll their reaction. And depending on what they've done, and depending on their charisma and who's talking to them, we're going to see how those monsters react. And often you'll see more so because rewards in basic D&D aren't based on killing monsters. They're based on getting treasure. More often than not, the players try to find ways to turn monsters against each other, to get monsters on their side, that kind of thing. So you're going to see, and I hope that the players pick this up quickly. If they don't, you know, that memorial screen, you know, this bad boy, this is going to fill up real quick. So, you know, they're going to need to come up with different solutions. And one of those solutions is, hey, let's get these goblins to join us in fighting the ogres that are trying to smash up our keep, right? So, you know, that's an option, and it gives you, if you have the intelligence, you can add in additional languages. Unfortunately for the players, these languages are rolled randomly, so, you know, it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. Wisdom gives you a bonus to your saving throws against magic. Again, hugely important when you've got wizards throwing spells at you. Dexterity will reduce your armor class, so you're a better class of armor. Bonus to your range attack, and bonus to initiative. So we've got a little bonus. We've got an initiative modifier we can roll here. That'll create an automated initiative tracker in Roll20, which is super cool, of course. And then lastly, Constitution. And Constitution just modifies hit points. Now, for each one, we've got a roll along the side that's going to allow us to check against certain things. So we talked about this again a bit in the video generally about Moldvay, but the idea is that when I call for a roll related to something that the game doesn't have a rule for, because Moldvay is pretty rules sparse. So if a character says, you know, how long is it going to take before that boulder rolls down the hill and crushes us? And I say, okay, well, I know, but there's no rule for you guessing, so make an intelligence check. So we're going to be able to click the int check button right here, and that's going to check. Basically, it's a nice, simple roll. If you have, say, a 12 intelligence, and we roll an intelligence check for you, it's going to ask for a d20, and can you get 12 or lower? And we can add a bonus or a penalty here to your roll. So the higher your stat, the easier it is to make those checks. Nice and easy. We've added in, and this is something that I love about this character sheet, particularly the author added in a to hit roll needed. So this tells us when we make attack rolls, did we hit or not? There's two separate sections for melee and missile attacks. And a little checkbox here for a halfling, because if you're a halfling, you're just better at hitting your enemies. Because I guess Bilbo threw a rock at somebody once. And so they get a bonus. It's something to help halflings. And then each weapon has its own attack roll added to it. So this way, you know, when our fighter is equipped with a sword, a mace, and by some miracle a +1 staff, we'll be able to add these in as independent items. And it'll total up all the math for us. And we can select a damage dice here. Nice and simple, really straightforward. Super excited to be able to use this sheet to kind of clear up some of that stuff. Down at the bottom, there's a section for class abilities. So you'll notice that if you're just tuning in and you're not familiar with Moldvay yet, check this action out. You can be a cleric, you can be a fighter, you could be a magic user, but you could also be an elf, or a dwarf, or a halfling. Those are classes. and each class has its own special abilities. So, the cleric, you can see, has turn undead. The cleric has the usual abilities: detecting secret doors, finding traps, listening, making a surprise check, and checking on their retainer morale. But the elf and the dwarf have their special elven detect secret doors, because elves are special and they're better at that stuff. And so each of these sections are written down underneath. This is literally all you need to know about the class. And then if you're a spellcasting class, we've got areas to add in your spells. So if we have any magic users or elves in the party, they're going to get magic spells. They're going to get magic user abilities. And if we have any clerics in the party, they will get 0 spells at first level, but second level forward, they're going to get, they're going to get more. They're going to get more spells. This makes level 1 very hard, because when you get beat up in a fight, there's no way to heal aside from resting. So you'll have to chill your jets and come back until you're level 2. Cure Light Wounds is a big ass deal. Trust me, you'll see. Thieves have a ton of special abilities. This is their jam. Thieves get, look at this. Look at how many special abilities thieves get. They get pickpockets, they get hide in shadows, they get move silently, they get open locks. And what's really cool, I'm gonna get a little bit game theory on you here. So these abilities, to be totally honest, they suck at first level. Like, you're not going to be very good at opening locks or moving silently or finding or remove traps. But what this does is it gives you a specific understanding of your chances as a thief to do a certain thing. They're a bit like moves in Apocalypse World, because if a character who is not a thief, like let's say, a magic user asks me, I want to climb this wall, I can say, okay, roll a die, and I can just make up an arbitrary number. But we know that a thief has at least a specific chance, a specific percentile chance to do a thing. It may start off low because you're first level and you suck, but at least you know you have a chance, and we'll modify these by a percentage depending. So, obviously, like a sheer surface, you may start at 87%, but if you can justify, if there's handholds or if you've got rope or some other thing that you can use to give you a bonus, your percent chance will go up. So that's a good modifier. They have a Backstab Attack, so they can add in here what weapon they're using, what type. And what's cool is that Backstab, all it needs is for you to be unnoticed and for you to be unnoticed and to make the hit, basically. So as long as someone doesn't know where you are or can't see you, you can backstab them with whatever weapon you got on hand. I mean, obviously daggers and swords, but also crossbows. So this makes the thief into a bit of a sniper as well. A smart thief, which is to say a cowardly one, is in a position to do a ton of damage and then try to disappear. So these are ways that each character is different. I knew as soon as I said it, I knew someone in chat would ask, yeah, I would allow someone to do a backstab with a ballista. Sure. I mean, why not, right? Like, the rules say as long as you are unnoticed. You want me to read the exact? Let's get rules lawyery, shall we? Here, I'm gonna go ahead, and on my other screen I'm gonna open Moldvay, and we're gonna read the exact description. This can be my first official pre-game ruling. You ready? If anybody's taking notes, you can say right now, I set a precedent to allow this. This is my fault. All right, character classes. Thief. Let's see. Here we go. So, and I quote, when striking unnoticed from behind, a thief gains a bonus of +4 on to hit and inflicts twice the normal damage. Okay, so if you shoot someone in the back with a ballista and they didn't know you were there, +4 to hit, double damage. Congratulations. Make a note. I said it. I can't take it back. Okay, so another thing that's important in D&D and totally tedious to manage on paper is encumbrance. So your movement rate you put in your basic movement rate, and then depending on what you're wearing or carrying, your movement rate will change. So, and it's all weighed in coins because you know what's heavy? Coinage. So we put in, we're carrying 100 GP. It's going to keep adding to our total, which we're going to need to reduce our movement down. So this allows us to do all that math by default. And what ends up happening is you go as slow as the slowest member of the party. So while you might begin the game, you know, super proud of your 40 feet per turn or your running rate, that's going to drop as you wear armor and weapons. So what ends up happening is that the fighters end up having shields and plate armor and heavy weapons, and they go slow. So everyone stacks up behind them. And then eventually, you know, you have the thieves who are running off to sneak out and get stuff. You get loaded up, and you get into the dungeon to a point where you have a bag of copper and a bag of silver and some gold and a bunch of weapons, and you're carrying around 2 heavy swords, and you have to make these decisions about what you want to be able to carry out. Because when you're leaving the dungeon, that's what this exploration rate is, and you'll see this. I'm going to be counting squares, and every turn, you know, they can go 120 feet, and then I make a check. Do you encounter a wandering monster? Move, check, monster, move, check, monster, move, check, monster. And I'll be making tables for these monsters in Roll20 to sort of automate that for us. But it's going to be important, because you can only go as fast as the slowest party member. I mean, or you could just feed them to the owlbear that's chasing you and then run. That works too. And we've got a couple of sections for treasure and notes, because players love taking notes. And that's our character sheet. So nice and simple, and it's going to be great to be able to give the players a little bit more freedom to be able to check this stuff out, to be able to like have a place to manage their characters quickly and easily, and then create new ones when they need to. And of course, all of the, if you take a look in the chat, all of these are tied to our cool little graph paper up here that'll tell us, oh, you failed, or hooray, you succeeded, you opened the door. So cool stuff. Also, I'm going to be able to assign characters to, because I'll show you. So let's take a look at this character. I can assign characters to particular players in the properties here. So this way, I could make this, you know, Hillary's character. And when we create another one, I can add in another character. This could be a second character that Hillary is playing. This could be a hireling that Hillary is controlling. And I can just keep adding these and filling them out so that when we make actions and when we need to track things, it's all stored in the same way. We're going to see a lot more use of the character sheet and the sort of storage facilities available to us in that regard than we did on the Apocalypse World game, I think. Cool. So that's the characters. Really excited about the character sheet stuff. Some other things that I've added to the game. I've added in a bunch of different handouts. So what I did here was in Roll20, you can add in specific additions to this list. So I can add in a character, which we just saw. I can add in handouts, which tend to be images with notes on them. And I've added a bunch of those. I'll show you. And I can add in new folders. So I've separated the folders here into GM notes, adventure handouts, game handouts, and then characters. So game handouts, these are pages that I've taken from Moldvay for quick reference. So these are specific character sheet items. They're pages. You can see this is page B12 from the sheet, so that if the players want to refer to equipment or to their ability bonuses, I don't have to wait for them to check the PDF. It's all available to us right here. All of our combat tables. So this is going to be really easy for me to use. I'm going to be popping these out and putting them on my other monitor. And then I've also added a few for the adventure itself. So Keep on the Borderlands comes with some really nice tables. Don't forget, this page is perforated for easy removal. So they've summed up the D&D team have summed up a lot of the stuff that you need to know into a couple of sheets. So this kind of is going to act as my GM screen, both for the adventure specifically and for the game as we go through it. There's some questions about something I mentioned before about when you check for encounters. It depends on the dungeon. The general rule in Moldvay is once every 2 turns, but in certain areas in the keep and in certain other adventures, it's once every turn or once every 3 turns. It's a way to vary how dangerous the dungeon is. I've also added a section for GM notes, and I don't think you can see it because it's under our little overlay, but there are dots at the outset of each of these pages that show who can access them. So only I can see this one. Check it out. Yes, wandering monsters. So I'm going to add in a table, and I won't make you sit and watch this, but yeah. So this is where we're going to be adding in these wandering monsters. I'm going to so check it out. You're wandering around in the dungeon, and it doesn't matter where you are or what's going on. Every 2 turns, I'm going to check, and if you get a wandering monster encounter, I got to roll on this table. So you might have to fight or encounter a giant shrew or a gecko or some killer bees. And then there's the number appearing here, and then I've got an area for level 2 and level 3 of the dungeon. So I'll show you how I'm going to set these up. Let me just pop this guy out so that I can put it on my other screen, and we'll talk a little bit about modifying your own tables. So what I can do, one of the tools that I have available to me are rollable tables. So I can add in a new table, and I can call it Keep on the Borderlands. Is Borderlands one word? It's one word. Keep on the Borderlands, and we're gonna call this Wandering Level 1. No, the players cannot roll on this table. And then I add an item. So the first item is Acolyte. Okay. We're gonna weigh it. It just weighs 1 because there's only 1 of these on the table. So this is the number of times it shows on the table. And then if I want to, I can add an icon. So there's an item on my table. I can add a second one, and it's a bandit. He only appears once. Beetle, fire, etc. And so on this table, I can roll. And we can see, oh, look, rolling 1, beetle, fire. There you go. So it shows me what monster shows up. And then it will be on me to make the separate roll to decide how many. So let's say if they encounter fire beetles, there's supposed to be 1d8 of them. So, oh shit, 8 fire beetles. Whew, that is messy. So if I want to get more complex with the table, I can add in an additional macro to pull from the table and then automatically roll for me. And I think I might do that. But like a cooking show, I'm not going to make you watch the whole process of this. So I'm going to come back and I'll add to this table later. But for right now, there are 8 beetles that our imaginary party is going to have to deal with. John, Paul, George, Ringo, and then like 4 more nobody's ever heard of. So we're gonna be, again, using the tools we have available to us in Roll20 to take some of the pressure off me to have to keep looking things up. It's all gonna be, my GM screen is here and right in front of me the whole game. So it's gonna be a lot easier on me. Looking forward to it. So what else we got in our handouts? I got Wandering Monsters. I've also pulled a bunch of maps from the adventure to use on the table. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my page toolbar. So the page toolbar is one that allows me to set up basically, again, screens that I can use to look at what's going on in the game, look at my maps, create encounters. I've created a blank encounter map, which is what we're looking at right now. And this is where we're going to be able to draw in, specific stuff for the adventure. We're going to start using tokens, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we'll come back to the encounter map in a second. The 2 most important maps right now are going to be the player map for the dungeon, And this is where the players are going to be trying to draw what they think the dungeon looks like. So let's see here. They're going to like, all right, it goes this far, and then there's like a kidney-shaped tunnel, and then there's a pool of water. Oh, and there's a secret passage under there. So they're going to be able to draw on this. John and Andrew both have styluses and tablets, and they're going to be able to do a hell of a lot better drawing than I just did with my mouse. But there are other tools they can use if they want to be more specific. Like I'm going to be using the polygon tool a lot to draw in rooms. And we'll use this for basically primarily combat encounters on my side, and then for the player's map on their side. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be mapping out the dungeon as they go, because I'm not going to tell them where things are, right? I'm just going to describe my map to them. They can keep a map, and then when they leave and come back, they're going to need to use that map to navigate. Right? It's like a real map, and someone in the group is going to have to be drawing, like an actual person's going to have to draw that map, right? So what's cool here is that I can say, you know, okay, where is the map? And they can say, okay, well, we're going to go left here, and I'm like, oh, well, there is no left turn in this tunnel, and y'all can watch the way that the players try to make a map compared to the map I'm going to be using. So there is a fairly badass, there's a fairly badass map that comes with the adventure. But a while ago, I found this this awesome map by the Weem of the Caves of Chaos. It looks so much prettier. So I'm going to go ahead and use this map to basically walk the players through. This is what I described to the players. So during the game, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between this map and the player map, so we can say, oh, you think that there's a cave here, huh? Well, oh, I see where your map is going wrong. Basically, what I want you to do is join me as sort of co-GM, going back and forth between these maps and giggling behind our hands at how terrible the players are at mapping. But hey, maybe they'll get it right. Maybe they'll do a great job. So we won't be using tokens probably on this map. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to be using the measuring tool, because that's great for measuring distances, so we can tell how wide a room is. And what I've done when I set up this map is, as best as I could, I tried to set it to the map in the background. So you'll notice that with the measuring tool, check it out, it shows me how far the distance is. Right? So what I had to do was, as best I could, approximate that using the grid in Roll20. But you'll notice that it's not perfect. I'm gonna zoom in, and that's because no map in Dungeons and Dragons that's ever been published is like an actual grid. It's really frustrating when you're trying to communicate it into this medium. But I've done the best I can. They're approximately the right size, but they're not, they're not they're not mapped to the grid exactly. So you can see this room maps fine, right? It's like if you move from here to there, you're moving 20 feet, that kind of thing. But if we scroll down here, what happened? It's all off center again. So, it's a thing. Now, what I did to set that up, in case you are looking to run your own game, is, let me jump over to my blank encounter map. In the blank encounter map, it gives you, or in a new blank map, let's make a copy here. In a new blank map, you're able to, oh, I don't want to archive that. Where's my copy option? Yeah, here we go. If I want to map these, rather than put the map on and like try to adjust it manually and all that stuff, this is something that we can do automatically. So if I go into my tokens, and I'm going to grab, it's a token, it's just art that I've put in the game, and I want to grab my Caves of Chaos map. I can drop this in. I can shift it using layer. I can shift it, make sure it's on the map layer. I can resize it. And then what Roll20 will do, it's got a tool built in that will allow me to set how big the hexes are. So check this out. If I right click it and I go to advanced, there's an area called align to grid. And when you click the grid alignment tool, you click and drag to set a 3x3 box, right? But you want to do that on the actual boxes. Sorry, I'm pointing at a thing here that isn't actually on the screen. You want to do it on the actual boxes on your map. So check this out. We'll go align to grid, and we're going to draw, here's a 3x3 area. And now it's going to resize so that my grid cells are approximately the right size. So if I want to make them exactly square, align to grid. And now when I click to move the map around, you can see that at least the squares are the right size. So if I hold Alt to break the snap, there we go. So now the map and the squares at least are the same size. So it's a useful tool to be able to get a start on that. And then I would want to go in and change the size of my background using the page toolbar like normal. So I've already got this map set up, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. There we go. I can also set up, if it's a hex map, which I'm going to have later, I'll be able to do. If I want to, do different kinds of diagonals, this is less important in a non-tactical game, kind of like this one. I can set the size. So how many units is the grid? How many feet is 1 unit? What color is my background? I made everything this blue and white because, it's cute. And then I can start doing things like dynamic lighting or fog of war, which I'm probably not going to use initially, but we might move into as we go into the game. Go ahead and delete this page. Move over to this one first. Thank you for warning me about that, Roll20. And we'll trash this page. So I've set up 3 maps for myself. Here's what I did. So I've got my dungeon map. It's right here. Give me some space for notes. The players will never be allowed to look at this map. I've got a map of the keep. So here's your badass. Here's your backstabbing ballista. There are several of them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like a dozen of those things. So there's a map of the keep. Obviously the key is in the adventure. I also set up a environs map. Bum, bum, bum. So here's the keep. There's a cave of the unknown, a little side adventure. There's a swamp they can go get lost in. And there's the caves of chaos. And so again, I've modified on this map how far. Here, let's zoom in so we can actually see. So how far, like from the keep to the road? 1,200 feet. How far along the road? Approximately 8,100 feet. So this is a way that you can set up your maps. And again, not exactly perfect, but close enough for our purposes. When we need like exact detail, we're going to be creating the map ourselves. So when I add the players in and we end up in a combat encounter in one of these rooms, this is when I'm going to switch and we'll call it, room 6 map, and I'll draw this out as a square. We'll draw the hallway, and then they can use this area. Now all of this data, all the stuff that I'm doing here, these best practices come straight from the roleplay or the Roll20 wiki. So it's wiki.roll20.net. There's articles for best practices for getting set up, articles for aligning your maps, really specific details for each of this thing so that your role playing can be utilizing as much of this stuff as possible, just like ours. And what's cool is that I'm always learning too, right? Like I'm picking up new things every time I use the tool. And so hopefully as we go, people will be giving me advice about how best to manage the dungeon and how to create things like that. So we're all going to become better GMs together, better masters of the dungeon together. So we're going to add in the maps here. The players are going to have, I've given them a world map. Now the world map, actually I'm going to go ahead and switch it because I want to give them hexes. The world map probably won't come into effect for a while because, world crawling hex crawling doesn't really happen until, they're around 3rd level till we start getting into the cook stuff rather than the Moldvay. But we'll get to that when we get to it. I want to give them a place where they can say, okay, we're gonna add in a note to say like this is where we found treasure, and maybe they're gonna draw a better X than me. That's embarrassing. Get out of here. So this is a place where they can figure out what the world looks like around them. And this is purely for them. I'm giving them a space to just create, whatever notes they need to make, and I can drag them there if they need it. So pretty easy. And I'll probably create my own world map. So that way we can figure out, okay, the keep on the Borderlands is here, and over here we've got the Palace of the Silver Princess. And in like a year, when we're running these campaigns and, finally people have managed to get to be like level 5 or 6, we can say, okay, cool, so you're here now and you've traveled 500 miles from the keep on the Borderlands where you started your adventure, and we'll be able to track kind of where things happen in the game. It also might be fun if they mark with a little skull like where people died. I think that'd be kind of cute. Like, on the way from here to there, we lost Falco Chubb, our poor halfling. He died. He died in this river. And so they'll be able to track all that using the world map. Now, one thing I do want to talk a little bit about is how I'm going to do specific encounters. So let's jump over to a blank encounter map. We talked a tiny bit about this before. So I've set up my blank encounter map to be 5 foot because that's, a nice tight enclosed environment. And what I'll end up doing here is going back and forth between, my map to draw out the room. So let's say, okay, this room is 60 by 40. So we'll draw this guy out. And what I'll also probably end up doing is having a like a side map on my other screen so that I can look directly at that. So let's see, 2, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay, and then it was by 40. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and then it went back another 40. And then what happened there? Then it goes up 10, over 10, and then connects. Okay, oops. Let's drag my map over there. Oh, that's funny. It keeps your drawing and switches it. So if I start drawing on one map, it can flip it to the other one. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, I'll draw a room rather than drawing a specific room. I'll just do this for show right now. So here's your room. It's a very janky looking room, but I drew it. And then each character will have a token. And I've started to do a little bit of token like delving to find some tokens that I like. But the players will be able to pick their own. And what I've done here is, and this is something that makes it really easy. I can go like, okay, I need an orc. I can search, and it's going to give me all of the built-in tokens that I can use. It'll show me additional orcs I can purchase from the marketplace if I like a particular orc, and then I've got some free ones that I already have based on my account. So I can grab these, I can resize them, and because they are tokens, I can do cool stuff like, let's move them to the token layer. I can do stuff like putting in their hit points and tracking all this automatically. Let's say this orc has 15 hit points, and when he gets damaged, he takes 5 damage. Oh, now he's down to 10. And I can add in things like them being slow, trapped in a net, poisoned, and I can add little dots to show like who they're fighting or whatever. So what I've done a little bit in advance, and I'm going to go and finish this later, is I'm going to make a list of sort of favorite tokens that I want to use. There's a couple of artists I really like, and I've selected some tokens. So I've got a giant rat, I've got a bat here, some kobolds, and so I've got these pre-prepared. And so what I'll do probably is when I'm done working on my encounter table, right? Because I'm going to need tokens ostensibly for all of these. I'm going to go through and try to find them. Now I'm pretty sure I'm not going to find a giant shrew, but I'll find something like that. You'll notice that they might encounter traders randomly in the dungeon, which is weird. So yeah, so this makes it really easy for me, and once I've got them on the map, I can just copy them out, and we can just say, okay, you encounter 6 bats, and the players will know where they are in the room, and we'll track individual movement tactically using the map for the most part, I think, because it's the easiest way to keep track of things, and because each character or each player is going to start with 2 characters, they're going to need some space, so we're going to want to keep track of where everybody is. Something else that I plan on doing is using the GM layer to keep notes about things, so I can note where stuff is going to happen, and the players won't be able to see this. So I can just make evil notes, and y'all can see it because you're my co-GMs, but the players, they won't see it. Now, one thing that I've done, I'm going to set up some macros for the game. I've only got one so far, but I think it's the most important macro. If we take a look at my macro list, where are they? Here we go. I have a little macro over here called So You Died. I've added it to the toolbar. Everyone's going to be able to use it. You can't see my toolbar because it's under my little face, but let me move myself out of the way. It's this little button down here. And so when you die, instead of making you roll a bunch of times, here's what I did. So you died, huh? Well, now you're rolling up a new character. This character has 13 strength, 7 intelligence, 9 wisdom, 9 dexterity, 6 constitution, 6 this character sucks. Looks like we made a fighter, everybody. So everybody's going to start with 2 characters because basic D&D is balanced, quote unquote, balanced for parties of 6 to 12 players. Rolling is 3d6 top to bottom. You live, you die, you live again. 3d6 straight to the bottom. They're going to play 2 characters at a time. They're all going to die. By the time they're higher level, they're going to be able to hire in like hirelings and henchmen to help them out. And yeah, that's a good point. You remember, I need to tweak this, but basically I wanted to get it on the table so that I could show you basically what I want to do. I'm going to make this a little smoother. I'll make it inline for the rolling. And so when a player dies, need a new character, just click the macro. Just click the macro and hope for the best. Yeah, 15 con. There's a tiny bit of adjustment you're allowed to do when you make your characters. Wow, this character is actually really good. 14 strength, 13 intelligence, 10 wisdom, 16 dex. Fucking sweet. Oh, I can't keep this character. Boo. But yeah, so that's the deal. Cool. So I think basically without adding the players to this and without sitting here and like individually working out each macro, I think that's pretty much all I need to get started. If you want, when you tune in, because you're going to tune in because you're awesome, if you want to tune in for episode 1, it'll be next week at 11 o'clock Pacific. If you want to start taking bets for who's going to die first, you are welcome to do so. I want the folks at home to be getting involved, right? I want you guys to buy in. I want you to play along with me. You are my co-GMs, and so when we slay a player, it's not just a victory for me; it's a victory for all of you. I mean, I'm being all pretend adversarial, but you know, it's actually pretty fun. I think you'll see how the tenor of the game works pretty quickly when we get some players at the table. So I guess before I leave, I slotted a bunch of time for this. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, I'm pretty much ready to GM this next week. We're gonna be obviously I'll post every week on the forums to talk about the game. And we'll be doing rundowns. I'm gonna do GM turns, but I'm not sure how often I'm gonna need to do them because a lot of the prep is done sort of front end. But if we need them, if y'all have like very specific questions about GM stuff, then I'll definitely be amenable to doing more of that. Basically, my job here is to show you how to use Roll20 to have a game that that utilizes as much of it as you need for that particular game, and what'll be fun for you. So what I'll do, I think in the first GM turn, and this addresses a question. Abdiel Kavash wants to see how the player's hit points on the sheet get linked with the HP bar on their token. Now I can't do that without player tokens on the map and players on the board, but we will definitely be doing that. I'll show you when we get it up and running. Will I be using the GM? Cilio Neko asks, will I be using the GM layer at all? Yeah, definitely. Primarily as like a notes layer for encounters. It's basically just like a scene that I put on top of the normal scene, so I can make notes on something the players are drawing. So this will be fun when they start doing the world map, and I can draw circles around things and be like, wrong, this is wrong. I can say this is actually over here, and I can make notes for myself about where I want to place content, right, and how they're screwing it up. We'll be adding new characters to the game. A couple of people have asked about how we're going to do that, adding new characters in. When your characters die, when you go back to town, you can hire new adventurers to join you. So they'll be able to re-up on characters when they're in town. Yeah, each player is going to have 2 characters at a time until we start getting hirelings, until that happens. But they're going to need 2 characters at once, which means the XP is going to be a little slow, but that's on the players. It's on them to survive and bring out enough gold to level up. There have been a couple of questions about who's playing. These fine human beings. There's a question unrelated to this particular show about GM turns for the Burning Wheel game. So I will be doing that. Basically, I'm going to start them after the campaign kind of like really gets going. Once they get back to town. So we might start doing them after this week's show. I think that's probably a good time. I wanted to give us a chance to sort of fill out the game a little bit before I get into that. I also want to do it around the same time that I'm going to start using like Duel of Wits, for example, and I think we're coming up on that pretty soon. If you get both your characters killed in the first episode, well, the players are going to have to go back and pick up some new ones. I think you'll see the cadence of death and rebirth, the circle of life. I think you'll see how it works in play pretty quickly. Lord Techi asks, I'm DMing a game with a few friends and had TPK last time due to terrible repeated crits by the enemies. How often does that happen to me? It depends on the system. It's RNG, right? You don't have control over these things, and I think that part of how that goes is just accepting that uncertainty is a part of the game, and the results of the uncertainty, that's a thing, that sometimes all the characters die. We might have a TPK. It might happen. I'm excited to see if we do. I'm excited to find out. There's a couple of suggestions for the macro. That's very helpful. I appreciate that for sure. I will be reviewing the chat for any suggestions you guys have, because some of you have experience running this game and or a game like this and have some ideas about how that might go. So very cool. I'm super into it. Any suggestions? Anything that you've found works well for you? I'm happy to take a look at it and roll it into the game. Generally, folks are asking, there's some asks about, DL Deadbolt asked, what advice would I give to someone new to role-playing looking to get started? I'd take it easy. Pick a game you feel comfortable running. Run something that's not super complicated, and just tell the players you're playing with, like, I'm new to this, so, we're all going to learn to play through it together. Moldvay is very much a game about dungeon crawling. It's a game about taking a stance with your character, that your character is moving through the world as a pawn of your intent. PvP is real and a thing, and if it happens, it happens, right? And the thing is, the characters are, because of that stance of your characters are just a pawn you're moving around. If you lose one of your pieces, yeah, it sucks, but you'll get another one. It's okay. You're not out of the game. I imagine that the characters will have personality, but like nothing as deep or nuanced as we see in Burning Wheel or Apocalypse World. I'm really trying to make Moldvay a different experience for the folks that are watching the show, and I think it'll be really if you're so inclined, if you're into the idea of sort of memorializing the actions of the players, feel free to keep track of who's rolling well and who's rolling poorly, who's killed the most monsters, who's had the most characters die. Because I know at home in my gaming groups that I've played with, we know who's the character killer. Bronwyn, I'm looking at you. So, these things are really fun to come up. And, as I showed before, we're going to have a memorial for our commercial screen and for our, pre and post show screens. I'll flip them over to show you here. And there's a big blank area in the middle. And I'm going to be filling that. We're going to be filling that with the bloodied names of those fools who've gone into the dungeon and never returned. I can't wait to see that and how it looks after a little while. We're going to be implementing the player rules of having a caller and a mapper. So the caller is the one that basically tells me what the party is doing, and each individual person can specifically handle what they're doing within that bounds. So there'll be like a party leader, and if they disagree with the caller, well, maybe it's time to come up with a new caller. But everything in the game we're going to be playing by the book. Any custom rules that I come up with along the way, we're going to try and keep track of outside, and we'll have sort of a collection of those. We're going to end up with Moldvay D&D by way of Adam, Hillary, John, Andrew, and Dave. And this is going to be our version of Moldvay by the end, because sometimes you need rules for stuff that comes up in the game that there just isn't yet. So that's something that we're going to implement. So I hope that you're as excited as I am, because I am super excited. Actually, it's not possible. It's not even physically possible for you to be as excited as I am. I love this game. This is the great thing about being in a position to run these games online, is that so far, once we start playing this game, it's going to be me playing with you, watching my 3 favorite games: Burning Wheel, Apocalypse World, and Moldvay D&D, and I'm so excited to get in and show you something a little bit crunchier. So the show, just to remind everybody, it's going to be every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So whatever that is in your time zone. Throw us a follow right here on the channel, and follow us on Twitter for updates on that stuff. I'm going to be posting about the show, probably both on Reddit and the Roll20 forums. And I'll be linking to that on again on Twitter, mine and on the Roll20 Twitter. And we're gonna look to we're gonna be looking to add in some additional stuff, both to the stream and for participation of the audience. So one thing I know everybody's looking forward to is music. It's hard, because what we really want to do is be able to highlight folks who are creating music, and that licensing is an issue, I guess, is the thing. We want to find like Creative Commons music we can use and give people credit for that stuff. And it's tricky. It's tricky to find the library and make it big enough that you're not sitting here listening to the same song over and over. But it is something we're working on, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to watch me GM, the other show that I run is The Burning Wheel. It's Friday nights at 5 o'clock, and it's very much the sort of polar opposite of this particular rule set, in that it's very character-driven. Characters don't die very often. We're in the middle of, I think we're starting up episode 6. We're in the middle of sort of the intro arc, and it's all about revolution and class struggle. So it's turning out to be quite a cool game. Hopefully you'll be able to tune in for that. It's been a slice getting this stuff set up. I'm going to go and finish setting up. I'm going to go build some tables, fiddle with some macros, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow night at 5 o'clock for Burning Wheel. And if not then, definitely at 11 o'clock next Thursday morning, so we can get together, play some Moldvay. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.